These are yours, yes?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Tell me, why is an accomplished foreign architect shoveling coal here in Philadelphia?
I'm afraid it is not so simple.
The Brutalist tells the story of Laszlo, who runs away from Hungary into the United States towards the back end of the World War, running away from persecution. He's an architect, a very skilled architect in his country, and he decides to run away, leaves his family behind in the hope that he's going to bring them to the American dream. And this is what this film is all about, is an epic tale of sort of discussing what the American dream was, or still is. So he ends up in the States, he meets his cousin, he gets under the tutelage of this big industrialist at the time, played by Guy Pearce, to do some work on his property, and we follow his story, his maybe rise and fall, we can call it, as he tries to make a living and survive the trauma of his past. But Basil, when you went into this film, were you daunted by the 3.5 hours runtime?
Yes, I was a little bit. I thought, right, well, this is going to have to be, some masterpiece, epic masterpiece of filmmaking if it's going to keep us interested, and I believe it is. And the only doubt I have behind that is my lack of emotion towards the characters in the film. As a filmmaking spectre, it's amazing. It's fantastic. I think me and you both commented it looks and feels very much like There Will Be Blood, obviously starring Daniel Day-Lewis, and ironically, Guy Pearce in this film has a sort of mannerism and kind of, it's almost like a homage to Daniel Day-Lewis's character in There Will Be Blood when he plays this chap Harrison. I think we both agreed in that it's like early 20th century kind of entrepreneur who's very ruthless and cold, but very intelligent and slightly intellectual as well. And I have to say, I really enjoyed Guy Pearce's kind of role in this film. People saying, "Oh, it's a performance of a lifetime" and stuff. I'm not sure I'd go that far, but he really does it justice. But yeah, I think Alex, this film is, as you say, the kind of immigrant experience. And it's strange at the time of release with obviously Trump coming into power and stuff, and it's on the tip of everyone's tongue, the kind of the experience of migrating to a different country. And obviously this is focusing just after the war, and the atrocities of the Holocaust and so forth and so on, which I think the Hungarian people probably experience more than most European countries, as there's a big Jewish conglomerate there. And Laszlo's this fantastic architect who ends up being an American, working a normal job. He's shoveling coal at one point at docks, and Guy Pearce's character Harrison is absolutely fascinated by this guy's essentially artistic prowess in a way. And when he finally realizes that this work of art that he's done in his house, this library he's created, he comes back to find him.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you nailed it there a little bit, and this just tells you how complex Guy Pearce's character is. We're talking about the villain here before we get to the protagonist, but I think he's impressed by the contradiction that Laszlo is, the architect, because when he comes to find him again, he's conflicted by the fact that he's created these masterpieces, these pieces of art back in Hungary, but then he can't do the same here, or the contrast is, a person that can create so much can live so low by shoveling coal and dirty and for a capitalist like him, that's the contradiction. It's almost like he's found a new toy, and let's see what this new toy does as a capitalist. So he takes him under his wing, and obviously to serve his visions of grandeur in life and things like that for Guy Pearce.
These are yours, yes?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Have I upset you?
No. Not at all. Did not realize these images were still available, much less of any consequence. May I keep these?
Of course you may. And very artistic.
But Adrien Brody's character Laszlo is absolutely fantastic too, because he's in a different position. So he is the creator. He is an artist, but an artist is always free when he can do whatever he wants. And if you let an artist do whatever he wants, it might ruin you or bankrupt you or not even finish the job. So sort of like the relationship between the patron and the artist here is very interesting, because essentially the patron is not really wanting to, it just wants to profit from you, it just wants to abuse you. It's almost like when you have such a good and beautiful toy at your disposal, you almost want to break it of how nice it is. And that relationship is also very well explored and all of that. But I found Adrien Brody's being it's almost like neck and neck on nominations for Best Actor. He does a very good job in this film. And between him and Timothée Chalamet, it's hard. It's going to be tight.
It'll be difficult. I think with Brody's role in this film, his character is very dignified and reserved, but it's very well done. You know, it's not the most outlandish performance, but it is a performance nevertheless, isn't it? But as I say, it's like the characters are almost quiet. And you know, a bit in the foreshadowing, but you know, it takes skill to do this. But yeah, with what you just said, I think hits the nail on the head. You know, it's like art without structure can go anywhere. You know, it can lead to having a heroin addiction, for instance, which this character struggles with. But likewise with Guy Pearce, who also, again, it's almost like he's almost like he's Mr. Wayland in Interstellar, the younger one. You know, so it's like a cross between Mr. Wayland and Daniel Day-Lewis's character from There Will Be Blood. But anyway, he is almost like pure capitalist kind of entrepreneurial mindset, but with no artistic merit, and again, you know, led that on its own accord will not go anywhere. So the cohesion between the two, and the collaboration between the two, is got the potential for something of grandeur, and it's great. But you know, this film, I think me and you said, Alex, you know, maybe from on second viewing, third viewing, it could be seen in so many different ways. You know, you could see it as a capitalism versus the free willed, or you could see it as Jewish versus maybe even anti-Semitic people, or you could see it as the migrant experience, or you know, so many other things, blah blah blah. But you don't. None of these things get thrown in your face upon first viewing, do they? And it could just be seen as, you know, a love story for his wife, for instance, who's played by Felicity Jones, isn't it? Elizabeth Toth. Which, do you think that role was well done by Felicity Jones, or do you think it was a kind of in the shadow of the rest of the film?
Absolute scene stealer, man. Scene stealer, like you call it. She's amazing. She doesn't rock up until probably half midway of the film, but she essentially portrays post-traumatic stress, because they just managed to, right. Her and her niece just managed to get out of after a few years of Laszlo living in New York, and in the States, and she comes finally. And besides the fact that she's wheelchair bound because of malnutrition, which is just insane to think about, she represents truth. She sees through every single one of these people from the get-go, and including she sees him. And there's a scene where she says, you know, I've seen you, I can see you, you know, I know everything. And even though she's not been in his life for the past 7 years or 4 years, she can see what he's gone through, and she knows him very well, and he doesn't have to hide anymore. So she's like this warm blanket of truth, even though she's gone through unspeakable trauma by the time she gets to. But also she sees through everybody else in the room, you know, through Guy Pearce's character, Harrison, through, you know, everybody else, her cousin and all of it, and her niece when she decides to go back to Israel, and all of that stuff. So she's a story in itself, and is very well played by Felicity Jones. I think she's the front runner for supporting actress, but Oh well, yeah, in my
Yeah.
view. But it was beautiful to watch. These three actors, I think, are just making the film. The director, which we'll talk about in a second, is also a very important part. But tell me about the music, Baz, in this film.
No, I thought the soundtrack suited the pacing of the film very well, and it worked, and it got inside the kind of emotion of Adrian Brody's character really throughout the film. And did you kind of enjoy the chaotic intro as well? You know, talking of the the cinematography of the intro, for instance. You know, when they're arriving to America and you know everything's you can barely make out what's going on, can't you? You know, when he's obviously on that ship and he's like he's almost like he's going through it's almost like he's going through like a gas chamber or something in Europe. You don't even know where he is. He could be anywhere, and then you just see this open wide shot of the Statue of Liberty upside down. And did you find the imagery a little bit annoying? Because at first it was kind of almost giving me a headache. This introduction to America, it seemed a little bit mad and a bit chaotic. And I thought, I hope the whole film isn't like this, because this is quite mad. But I think it just wanted to get you inside the shoes of Laszlo. You know,
I think this film is directed by Bradycorbet, and it's that scene in particular is like a symbolism of rebirth, right? Because he's just landed, and he's coming out of the bowels of this ship. It's chaos. And then when he comes out in this brand new world with bright sky, what's the first thing he sees upside down?
Statue of
Liberty. So
I think you've just said it very well. You just said it's almost like a birthing. It's a birthing experience. It's almost like you're in the womb. I mean, you said it like a shit, but I would describe it as it's like you're in the womb and you've been birthed again. I think that's a great way of putting it, you know, and the light enters the cinema, and there we go. We're in America. Chapter 1.
And it's chapter 1. And I think that's the whole film right there in a sequence, because this film, 3.5 hours, and this is where the magic of a great director comes in. It only costed 9.6 million to make altogether, including the actors' pay and everything. And it looks like a 100 million film. But these type of techniques, like and there's many more like this, but this type of technique, like the scene you just described, the initial scene, you know, it could have been done in a sweeping shot of of a crowd of people inside this ship, right, in the darkness and stuff. But the way the camera is focused on one character without focusing on more and costing more, that made that scene, that saved on budget. And there's a lot of scenes like this throughout the film where you don't need a big massive spectacle. Yes, there are a couple of frames where you get to see the old New York and sequences of a big massive construction site. So you get those two, or the quarry when they go to Italy. That was some spectacular scenes there too. But they're all symbolism, and they're all picked correctly so that you don't focus on the spectacle of where they are, or of the era of the spectacle. It has an element of, it's filmed in VistaVision also, which is a film format on actual celluloid that is from the 70s, and there's barely any cameras out there that can use it, and it's very sensitive to use. And it's 3.5 hours. I was just mind blown by how well every single scene is thought out so that it doesn't cost a lot of money. Even the scenes in New York in the brothel, and even the scenes in this big massive house, you don't really get to see the big massive house, and for only a couple of scenes you see it. The rest of it is inside. But the characters, the actors do such a well job. The cinematography is amazing, and the direction is really good, that it allowed to be made for the cheap, if you think about it, compared to other epics like this. And I think, for my point of view, I think that's an Oscar in itself, because that's an achievement to do that. He's not an experienced director. He's just done a couple of films before. He's an experienced actor. But I would put my vote on him getting the best director this year, just based on how he managed to pull this off. It was pretty impressive.
Thank you very much for watching our review of Brutalist. If you'd like to watch a similar masterpiece of filmmaking, me and Alex would recommend our review of The Zone of Interest, which we recorded last year. So please like and subscribe as always, and we'll see you again in the next episode.